Hello, I'm Marlene Foster with Empower the Vision, and I hope that we're live right now because the countdown is still occurring. So I'm going to just wait just a few seconds here. Okay, I'm going to start. I'm Marlene Foster with Empower the Vision, and I'd like to welcome you to the Authors Spotlight Chat. Today's author is relatable. Today's author's story is actually it's phenomenal. His story is raw and resourceful. And as a child, this author started a business and he turned darkness into light. And he will show you from his actions of empathy, compassion, and also gratitude. That gratitude does foster success. I'd like to introduce Des. I'd like to introduce him now, Des Haig, and he's here with me. And Des, just say hello. Say hello to our guest today.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here with you. Thanks, Marlene. You're a great woman. And I love the introduction. Keep up the compliments.
I know that you do. As you said, and you know what? And your wife, Carol, but see, I can't wait to meet her so I can give her even more compliments, even
Thank
more.
you.
And today, we're going to be talking about three areas. We're going to talk about this journey as an author. And I know you're looking forward to that because I am writing my very first book. It was a pleasure for me to meet Des. I'm so happy to meet him. And then second, we're going to talk about the impact of social media, which a lot of us today have dealt with social media, haven't we? I know I have. I've gone and seen the different topics of discussion and a lot of times attacks that occur and you're not there. So you really don't know what that person is experiencing. Third, we're going to look at how Des says that adversity motivated him. Adversity, can you think of that? All of us have dealt with adversity, haven't we? In one way or the other, we all have. So we're going to start, first of all, with his writing journey. And I wanted to ask you this. Tell us, though, why? Why did you even decide to write? Why did you decide to write a book?
Yeah, thanks, Marlene. I think the reality is I think there's a story that I had that I hadn't shared with the world. We'll talk a little bit about the negative impact of social media. And I think there's a lesson that everybody should know that no matter how difficult things are, if you've got resilience, if you can drive forward, I look at it and say, adversity is inevitable, but defeat is optional. And I'll come back to that time and time again. And so the message I wanted is, in anybody's darkest moment, it's not over. Believe in yourself and move forward. And that was kind of the major hook. But then I also thought, I've had the privilege of managing and leading 8, large organizations, been on 20 boards. And I think there's a lot of life lessons that I can share with people who they can take on and not have to make the same mistakes that I may have made, learn from me and become a better person and lead a better life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? In your writing, though, would you tell us what type of schedule or habits did you have? And you're writing a second book. What are you doing right now, Des, that we could maybe implement into our own lives?
Yeah, I think the reality is, I would always say before you start putting time in is think about what is the major point? What's the message that you want to convey? And then really the time that you put in is easy because you want to get your message out. And so for me, I get up and my normal days, I have my couple of coffees and then I go down to my gym and then I get back up here and I spend the majority of the day in my office, in this office here, from 8 o'clock until 6 and 7 sometimes. And as I'm sitting around and enjoying a glass of wine, my wife or my family and my grandkids are here now. So I'm usually being used for some purpose, obstacle course. I'm constantly writing my thoughts down and thinking about how I can develop the story that I'm writing. So it's a perpetually in motion kind of process for me.
But you know what? And you know when you're writing, like you said, with your book, your stories. So who what would you say is an author who's really inspirational for you? Who's inspirational
Yeah,
for
I
you?
think there's, I look at on the fiction side. I mean, there's so much that you can learn from just, losing yourself, a little bit of escapism. So Vince Flynn and it is obviously a big thing for me. I like that kind of espionage feeling. I love autobiographies more than anything, though, Marlene, because you don't, and it comes back to a major lesson that I use, and that is never stop learning. And you can learn from everybody and everything, and you don't have to experience it all live. So the more you can read about, hey, you know what, look at Jewel and the difficulties that she had and a difficult childhood and what she became, a multinational, acclaimed, musician. And, you look at business titans, you look at soccer stars and sports athletes, and you just can get so much from them. And sometimes it's their mistakes that become the power for
Hmm.
you to fuel yourself forward.
Hmm. But Des, what would you say is the key message in your book, though? And who's the target audience? Who would you say, Marlene? If I know my book definitely would impact who?
Yeah, I think the big message for me is when I've looked back at the arc of my life, it's about resilience, having the mental fortitude to keep going no matter the odds. That's the number one message. And I think that's it. And it comes out throughout my life. It doesn't mean when you're leading a company, you don't have resilience, you don't have adversity, because you do. You're going to have illness, you're going to have sickness, you're going to have death, you're going to have challenges, you're going to have competition who may not be playing by the rules. So I think resilience is the number one message. And candidly, with that, and I said at the beginning, adversity is inevitable, defeat is optional. If you think you can or you can't succeed, you are right. So choose wisely. And so with that message, everybody in life is going to feel some adversity in their lifetime. And so I think it's a lesson for all. But I also think, Marlene, for anybody who is aspiring to be, a leader, wants to run a business, wants to open a business, wants to do well, I think there's a lot of insights for those folks as well. So I think it's universal, and then it's specific to business and people who are going through a tough time. And never give in. Never let the demons get you. You can, as you said, I love it. You can bring light out of darkness. And that's the message.
And give it your best.
and obviously always give it your best and never stop learning.
And
Never
give it
stop
your
learning.
best. Exactly. And when you write though, because I know when I'm writing, I'd like to, I might dance around a little bit, twirl on my toes, or stand on my head. But what do you do? What do you do when you're writing that really motivates you? What's motivation?
Well, I am English, so I don't dance around. Okay, so there's no dancing. But
Come
what I
on,
do love, and
Mitch. Come on, man.
I think I dance well. Others may have got a different opinion. But I think the reality for me is, I know you've read the book, and there's certain things that are very important to me: music, reading, sports. Those three things helped me survive an horrific childhood. So what I usually do is I've got my little speaker here. I'm listening to music in the background. I'll roll through, greatest hits, then I'll go into my favorite music of all time, which is the 80s, and just jam out all day as I'm writing. And, my wife and family will attest, Marlene, when I first started writing 50 Minutes of Shame, they'd walk past my corridor, which is in the back of the house, and I'd just be laughing to myself as I was thinking about some of the stories and the nonsense that I've gone through in my life. And then obviously sad with some of the sadness that has happened in my life.
Well, let's see, when you think about, you mentioned Carol, and what would Carol say if you were talking to her right now? She said, this is what really, when I see Dad's writing, this is what really prompts him. What would you think she would probably say? Key lime pie, chocolate cake, what? Is it food?
Probably tea, so a lot of green tea and a lot of turmeric and just a lot of music. That's probably it.
That's all right. That's all right. And you're mentioned this from your book, though, because I can see it happening even, and I haven't finished mine yet. What would you say have been key lessons you yourself? I'm gonna talk about you first, then your readers. You yourself is actually have you picked up from your book when you take your book right now, and you pick it up and you reread it, or certain areas of that book. What are some key lessons you would say?
Yeah, I think,
That
it
you've
comes
learned.
back, and I don't want to be like a broken record, but it's just overcoming adversity. It's about resilience. It's about when I look back through the arc of my life and from a kid and being, physically abused and, watching my mother die in front of me, wither away when I'm 9 years old. They're horrific moments, but, as you process it, it's always about, to me, it's about how I can continue to be grateful for still breathing. I mean, I know you know this, Maureen, but about 4 weeks ago, I'm in my house and I fall off the roof. I dropped 20 odd feet down. I break 3 ribs. I punctured my lung, and, I'm sat in hospital for a week and I'm in agony, but I sat there in complete gratefulness that I'm still alive, that I'm breathing, that I have something to do and pass on and be part of this world. And so it's just an unbelievable gratefulness that I feel when I read the book. Yeah, there's disaster. Yeah, there's tough times. Yeah, there's adversity. But I truly am humbled by and thankful that I'm here and I survived and I've thrived really in spite of it all. I look at, my childhood and I think, man, 6 years of being physically abused on a nightly basis, beaten to a pulp. But what I take from that is I'm grateful that
Mhm.
I will never be that person to another human being. I will be the love to my family that I didn't receive, and that I survived and have moved on with my life with those awful lessons learned to be a better person.
Do you, what would you say to writers? There's so many people who are
Mhm.
writing this, and and that's one thing that I'm hopeful to do there's a membership I have right now. I'm hoping to push people to do more writing. And I've got a few people who are doing that. They said, Marlene, that I influenced them to do it. And I'm so grateful for that. But there's so many of them out here that are. Business wise, though, would you say your book, how has it impacted your business? I always, that's a question I love to ask authors though, who are business owners. How has it impacted?
Well, I think right now, Molly, my book launches on September 12th. So, and I still find it, I'm truly humbled by when you say, oh, he's an author. I still like pinch myself because it's not out live. I know that the review of my, immediate network has been very favorable. And, people like yourself and other authors have read and said, hey, it's fantastic. And I couldn't put the book down. It's very flattering, but it still hasn't sunk in yet that I'm an author. And I think I have that joy. It's like when you first win a football or a soccer game or a cricket game or, your first quiz at school. I've still got that like kind of halo effect, over me, thinking about, what will this turn into? So
Oh,
the message for the authors, I would say, is, as I an aspiring authors is, always think about what's the key message? What are you wanting to get out of this book? What are you wanting to convey? And then work backwards from that, and then lay out the story that really, illuminates your message. For me, when I wrote 15 Minutes of Shame, it's very personal. It's my life story. It was easy, but I didn't, how I kind of write, and it may not work for all of your authors out there, Maureen, or other people who are thinking about writing a book. And I would encourage everybody to write. They've all got lessons that they can share and add value to this world. But, I write like I'm playing a soccer game. And the difference between a soccer game and an NFL game is in soccer, it's 45 minutes of free flow. There is no stop and starting. There is no downs. There is no let's reset. You are fluid. You are always thinking and running around the field. And sometimes it looks ugly as everybody's jumping on the ball. But that's how I think about my writing process. It's a stream of consciousness. And I just let the thoughts flow. Now, I know the subject matter, my life, and I free flow from there. That may not work for some of the authors out there who want to be more, this is chapter 1 and think about all the different chapters. I just laid out my life, and then I would tell you through that process, I don't want to think it's so fluid that it's loose and not structured in any way. I probably on my iPhone now, if I looked at this thing, there's probably 500 thoughts that I've got that help shape my writing, that help shape my thinking. I'm just putting the finishing touches to my second book, and I've probably got 200 thoughts on that right here. Thinking Your Way to the Top is the book for anybody interested. Look out for it in a couple of months. Sorry for the plug there, Marlene. And then, you know, as I'm thinking through this, I've got the outline to my third book, which is going to be about consequential challenges that we can overcome in the world together. If it's homelessness, if it's, you know, if it's drugs, if it's, you know, if it's inflation, if it, you know, some of these very big things. And I just write thoughts down constantly. So it's like every time I have an idea, it goes onto my phone. And then I go back and review it. And I say, okay, how does that shape my book? Can it fit into my book? How does music play into my book? So it's kind of always free flowing, but with a purpose. The big message, this is the hook. You know, it's like make the business of the business being the business. That's how I look about it in business. Bigger, fewer, better. We can't boil the ocean, boil a saucepan. Think about your life like that so you can really get focused and structured and add real value to your writing. I hope that helps.
Of course, your books. So, because I got 2 questions for you now. Your book, your forthcoming books. Are we looking at a series or a sequel? See, and you and I talked about that. So, kind of tell us the difference between the two. A series, and then the sequel being what, sort of like a cliffhanger type of effect, right?
Yeah. Well,
series or series.
Yeah, I don't think it's this. You know, I don't think it's like Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 and Terminator 3. I really think that, you know, the first book, this one here, the plug, 15 Minutes of Shame, that's kind of my life story, but it really does form the basis for my second book, which is Thinking Your Way to the Top. And it's really, it's my, you know, blueprint from a 8 times president, CEO, 20 times board member to go into what was I thinking at the time of this event. So, you know, in my childhood, when it was really difficult, what were my inner thoughts? That thought's important. And that thought is never defeated. Never be defeated. So then I go into listing out examples that happened in my life to further Thinking Your Way to the Top. So that will be a kind of like a series. It's not, you know, like I said, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, where it's following on, but it is connected.
It's a series.
To that.
But I love the way, remember, I talked with you last night about this, that your book is, okay, September, there are pre-orders that are being taken right now. How in the world did you market your book, you know, Des, to be able to have it situated like you have? I mean, I love what I saw because I'm looking at September as at my date as well, you know, for my book. And I looked at you and I said, how in the world did you do that? Tell us how you did it. Well, or is that a secret?
No, it's no secret. But I got to tell you, Nareen is the CEO of Amplify Publishing, and the guy is just phenomenal. I couldn't speak more highly of an individual as Nareen. And, you know, CEO of this organization, he brought my book to life. Great people that I was working with, Brendan and others in that team, and Sky and several others that are instrumental. But they gave the book, you know, they polished the book up. They help me with, you know, the refining, the layout of the book, the look and feel of the book. And then I'm working with them on the launch plan. And I think, you know, if I was saying to, you know, authors like yourself, and I can't wait to read your manuscript. I know that my wife's looking forward to it too, and my family. Will give you more feedback than you want, Maureen. That's for sure.
I'm glad of that. Thank you.
But the reality on the book launch, it's about, you know, I'm in the business world. I've got a lot of connections. And so I reach out to my connections. I reach out to the companies that I've run. I've reached out to the people that I know. And I ask them to, first of all, participate in the book, maybe write the foreword, testimonials. There's 20 testimonials in this book from, you know, CEOs and presidents of the most largest companies in the world, I'm flattered and honored and humbled that they would, you know, be part of that testimonial. So it's all about how can you, and this is a really key thing in my life, is help, you know, ask for help. Be vulnerable. For the longest time, I wouldn't be vulnerable. I had to have all the answers. But, you know, as I like to think about it, you know, I've got like 8 major lessons in life, and I'll just go through the first one to illustrate this point. And that is, you know, I love the song from Sinead O'Connor, Nothing Compares to You. And that's how I look at my friends, my family, and my colleagues. Nothing compares to them. And they can help with word of mouth and spreading the message. I always ask them to do that. And that's the other thing, ask for help as well. But only if they feel it's good. I don't want them to, you know, sell the soul to the devil. You know, is it something that they really like and adds value? So get your friends, ask your friends for help, be vulnerable, be open. It's a little bit unsettling at times. And then think about, you know, for anybody out there, it's going to be LinkedIn. If you're a professional and you want to sell your business books, how do you use that network? How can you ask? Again, I got to tell you, Maureen, I've reached out to probably 50 influencers on LinkedIn, yourself being one of them, and Ambreen, who introduced me to you. What a wonderful lady. Holly Smith in Australia, Matt Higgins, you know, Halatala, a lot of great people. Frankie Russo from Louisiana, where I actually got married. So he's a special call out for that guy. And do you know what's really humbling? It's the help that these people will give you when you ask. And that's like pay it forward. And I think this community is so wonderful and so helpful that, you know, anybody who is, get to your friends, ask your friends, but get to LinkedIn as the #1 vehicle for me. We're going to talk about social media and the Twitterverse and the keyboard assassins maybe a little bit later. Not so much on Twitter, but there may be some Daniel Lacroche, a great guy for me on Twitter, actually sent out a picture of my book. You know, just people doing wonderful things. It's humbling, but tap into all your resources.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and see there, that's phenomenal. Just listening to you. See, talk about, you are so exciting when you talk about your book, when you speak of your book, and your book is so conversational. I'm serious. When I was sitting there reading your book, it was as if you were sitting right there across from me. When it's highly, I mean, you're humorous, it's funny. It is. And it was like, and I know whoever was in the next room from me, they would say, okay, she sounded real crazy in there, because I was actually at high pitch. I laughed and I was talking back to you. I was talking back to you too. And
laughing. I actually achieved what I set out to do. It's really funny, Maureen, because I do write as I speak. I'm not wanting to be come across as I've got 7 PhDs. Nothing wrong with people who've got PhDs. My brother's got one of my brothers has got 2 PhDs. So I'm not, you know, saying that it's not great to have a PhD. I want to talk so people can understand me at a level that, you know, everybody finds enjoyable. and it's conversational, and hopefully it's fun, but it's also enlightening and engaging. And I always find that humor plays such a massive role. I remember my younger son when I was running IHOP, and he came to this is the IHOP, the world's largest family dining chain. And, my son and my wife and one of my nephews came to my annual conference, and my son had said after, he said, Des, why, Dad, not Des, Dad, why are you self-depreciating? And he's 9 years old, and he didn't get the whole story until much later, because now he's like a mini Des. He does all the same things. And to me, it's about how to engage, be authentic, be real, be vulnerable, but also courageous. And all those things together send the right message, and it'll be received well. So, as I said, when I was writing 15 Minutes of Shame, I spent hours just laughing like you, as I'm writing. I look at the book and say, it's moments in my life, in little clips, little vignettes that piece together to make my life come to life. And it's all those little things that you do to bring, some originality and authenticity to that moment.
Listen, and I want to, and everybody out there who are viewing this right now, I know they can relate to this. I can, and that is the impact of social media. We have all felt, we've all felt that bite. Well, I know I have. And the times that I didn't feel it, I read it, because, I'm there and I'm looking at how their discussion, somebody may put up, something that they really believe in. It could be a holiday of some type, or something that occurred to them in their lifetime. And they'll write it out there. Like you see it, vulnerable. They're putting it out there for people to read. And then they're being attacked.
Yep.
Attacked. And people are not showing empathy. And because of it. But I wanted to just ask you, in your lifetime, can you share with us about your impact, how social media impacted your life, your family, and the business?
Yeah, I think if I could go back into a time bubble, you think about what social, Matt Goodermuth, who wrote the foreword for my book, very good friend. I've worked with him at Safeway. He's a phenomenal human being. He's just actually had a new child. He's just a great guy. And I think, he sums up really social media and what it should be. And Matt states this, or to paraphrase him, is, I use social media for what it was originally intended for. To connect with my family, connect with my friends, share, some of my challenges and some of my successes. And all the other stuff that, the unintended consequences of social media, when you think about it, Marlene, it's given a platform for 7 billion plus people to have a megaphone. And, it used to be in the old days, think about it, when we were growing up, there was 4 TV channels, there was a couple of newspapers, and that's what got the message out. Now it's by the nanosecond, there is an ability to send out a story or set up a campaign. And unfortunately, what I saw, 10 years ago, I made an awful mistake. I own it. I lost my temper with one of my with a friend's dog, and I over-disciplined this dog. I went back that night and told my friend, I'm really sorry that happened. This dog needs training. Let me help you with that. And then lo and behold, Twitter got hold of this story, and it went into the atmosphere, into the world with such hatred. Suddenly I've got 100,000 people who all don't know me except for one isolated clip, and they're trying to destroy your life. So I think first and foremost, no social media should have the ability to ruin somebody's life. It almost did ruin my life. That's subtitle of my book, a Twitter mob almost ruined my life. And when you think about it, Twitter is nothing more than a mob. It's a way for people to cognitive dissonance, if you like. They all like a subject, they all look at this incident, and they all agree. Unfortunately, we ask for people to be cancelled on an absolute bi-daily, bi-hourly basis. So when I think about what the original question, what do I think of social media? I personally don't like social media. I don't like it because of the unintended consequences, but I also recognize everybody has their right. I just would ask everybody to, like we should in life, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Let all the facts come out. And that's the other thing about social media. Everything is happening so fast. Information's coming in. It's unvalidated. You can't, really know what's true and what's not true. And it allows people the ability to attack somebody with full malice, but with anonymity. So you think about, it's easy to say really awful things about somebody that you would never say, Maureen, if they were in front of you. If they were in the same room, you would not act with that level of vitriol and negativity. So, but I will tell you, for the longest time, Maureen, with social media, I've been through a lot in my life. We could go through some of those things, but ultimately, my attempted cancellation was the hardest thing for me to overcome because it ruined my name and reputation. It portrayed me as a person that I wasn't. They attacked my wife, who was going through breast cancer, stating, "We know where you live, you're not safe." They physically attacked my son outside of Walgreens, of all places in Stamford, Connecticut, and tried to beat him. And, for years, persecuted me. And all for things that they don't really understand. So it allows for disinformation to really perpetuate, the fabric of our society. But I will tell you that, yes, it was an unbelievable thing that I had to go through to see me set on fire in the public square. And it took me the longest time. But I'll tell you, sitting here, Molly, I am better for the experience. I now look at it and say, I used to think, oh, look at my life. I've lost, my board seats. I've lost running a multi-billion-dollar company. People think I'm an absolute psychopath. But when I look at it now, it's always time. It's that I am better for that experience. Now, I don't want anybody to go through that experience. But I now see it's not what I lost. By that experience happening to me, I'm now an author. I'm now going to be speaking, speaks. I'm now going to be launching, maybe, the next business venture. So again, yes, it was tough. It was awful. I must admit, for years, I was lost. I felt broken and I couldn't get back on my feet and I was suspended in that animation. For me, I was living in the Nick Ford, Orwell world, Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. My two cities were bleaker. The Western world, the worst of worlds, it was bleaker. But through it all, I'm better, stronger, and I'm now doing something else, which, in my opinion, bigger and better.
See, that's wonderful. How many years ago was that? How long ago was that?
Almost a decade. And I still feel the ramifications of that. Just last week, I'm, insuring my cabin here in the mountains, and I have an insurance company who state that we don't want to insure you guys because of this incident. Now, my incident ended up being a misdemeanor causing, unfortunately, an animal distress, not cruelty. But even now, a decade later, it's unbelievable to believe that an insurance company, a multi-billion-dollar insurance company, could bring that up. Where is redemption? Where is forgiveness? Where is we all fail, but we all, improve, and we can get better and move on in life.
And you see that, like as you were saying, that's how deep social media does, and we've all felt it one way or the other. We all have. And listen, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to turn around and listen, I want to get everybody into the good part, which is your book. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed reading this book. And I just I'm sharing something here. I told him it was something I wanted to do, today. And there are two sides that I know he'll be talking with us about. But I just wanted to just briefly and succinctly read two of the passages here. One is, what I really loved about his book? It's instead of there being several chapters, he has sections within the book. They're titled. Like when you read maybe a couple of you'll see it when you get his book. You'll see like Trouble in Paradise section, and you read through that, and then the next section will be titled something else, and he keeps you understanding where he's going. The trail. It didn't come to as much to a crossroads because you're steadily traveling where he tells you to travel, because you got the street signs out there. Thank you, Des. But Trouble in Paradise says, 2 days ago, I had this nice, simple life, and now it's a nightmare. And that was actually, that's written as he has here, and that's Danny Ramos from the Terminator. And his story says, around my 7th birthday, life turned. My mother became ill. I was too young to comprehend the magnitude. And sadly, no one set us down and explained things. I was blissfully unaware. My mother had a series of health issues. First, she had a metal rod placed in her knee for God knows what reason. And then she was diagnosed with late stage cervical cancer. Mm-hmm. Again, we were left in the dark. I will never forget seeing my mother cry as she stared at her bald head in the mirror. I recall racing over and rubbing the top of her head like a genie's lamp and kissing it and saying how beautiful she was, because I wasn't lying. My mother was beautiful. And then I scroll down to Enter the Darkness. Mm. And what you think about the two that I'm talking about here, you'll understand in just a minute when Des starts to talk about Enter the Darkness. The world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who don't do anything about it. Albert Einstein. Diamonds, I'm told, are created under incredible pressure. I know some humans are as well. Surprising things can take root and flourish in the toughest and most inhospitable environments. That's how I sum up the balance of my childhood. Now, the next section, and I'll just say this because I'm sorry, I don't want to hold you up while I glance around looking forward. But Des speaks of the darkness, and darkness came. It was introduced to he and his brothers by his father, and this is the name that was given to Mary Poppins. He calls her Mary Poppins. And he then goes on to give her, actually, Mary Poppins was nice until he got to the point he started calling her the darkness. And she was called the darkness because of the cruelty that she inflicted upon these 4 boys. What do you think of the 2 women that I talked about here? There's the 2 women, your mother, I know she was sickly at the time, and your mom. You said that your mom is where you received your greatest passion, your humor. Your humor came from your mom. And then when your mom died, then darkness enters the picture. You call it was Mary Poppins, you said darkness. Tell us about Veronica and your mom.
Yeah, well, obviously I'll start with my mother because she was, to me, she's, one of two women who are very influential in my life. My mother, three actually women. One was the darkness, and it was because I never wanted to be like that ever and inflict that kind of pain. And we'll get to her. Second was my mother, and third is my wife, Carol. But as I think about, my mother, gentle Irish lady, met my dad in Rotherham, fled back to Ireland to escape him. He stalked her, if you like, tied her out, got married. He's Protestant, she's Catholic. The IRA, we're in the middle of a terror war. My dad's business was set on fire. We had to flee. And so, I was, less than a year old. I don't remember any of that morning, but, it's a great story and it's true. But I think about my mother. She also, just going through that experience, showed resilience. She's just unbelievable. I think about her almost every day, if not every day. She gave me my humor. She gave me my love of music. She gave me my first record, Dolly Parton, Jolene. And I played that for years, well after her death. So that woman is a saint in my mind, just the best out there. And then you go to the opposite direction of the darkness. It's a very twisted, unhealthy, unhappy, raging alcoholic. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I would see that manifestation on a daily basis. So with all the love that my mother gave me, and thank God she did until I was 9 years old, she showed me that what true love is, and then true, unmitigated, the devil in corner, in the darkness, to be physically abused by somebody for years on a nightly basis is something nobody should ever endure. But that woman administered that punishment with true intent, almost with happiness, her happiness, that she could hurt another human being. These people couldn't be more different. They came into my life almost as my mother was exiting. This woman came in and caused unbelievable harm to me and my brothers. And again, nobody should go through that. But I'm a stronger person for it, Molly.
Mm-hmm. And when you talked about sports and how sports really inspired you, I want you to tell us about the different type of sports you enjoyed, and also about the time also when you were actually there was I don't know, it was some type of a sportscaster or somebody was trying to get you to play for a team, and how darkness actually said that no, you couldn't. She told your father no. Yeah, talk about that, because that just kind of had me in tears right there. So I couldn't believe it.
Well, everybody in their own mind. It's really funny, Molly, when you look back at your childhood, I think just like I'm like your normal person, my sports career is better now than it ever was. So I'm certainly like Ronaldo and Beckham and Messi all rolled into one, but that's really not the reality. I was a tough, defender, going in, tackling the ball, and being more of a hitman than a finesse player. But sports really was just like reading and listening to music. It's so important to me. I played football or soccer. I played cricket. I played badminton. Tennis. All were very material to my life. And what I will tell you is, we won county championships in my school. We played at a high level. The incident that you mentioned was I was in the park playing with my friends. Some of the scouts from Rotherham United came to watch the game, came to me and told me that we want to do trials. Now, just so you know, Molly, David Seaman was in a few years ahead of me in school, and the same scouts picked David up. David went on to be the Arsenal goalkeeper, very predominant soccer club across the world in the Premier League, also the England goal. So he was picked up by these scouts. So I had aspirations of 10 years old, maybe I can become a great player. And when the scouts came on, the darkness, my dad had now married, unfortunately, highly misery on misery. She said, absolutely not, push them out of the house. And for my pleasure, absolutely beat me to a pulp with some curling tongue, very pointy ends, and just scraped across my head until blood and scars were all over the show. But that's the influence that woman had on my earlier life.
You know, also what I wanted to share with everyone today was also, you know, a lot of us have difficulties. As you know, maybe in school, elementary school, you know, middle school, even high school, and you for one, remember you you ended up being placed in a class with all of the fellows that you would fight with, the ones you said, all the bad boys, the bad boy class. That's the class you ended up in. And I love the way they finally discovered that it was dyslexia, correct?
Correct.
Dyslexia. And once that was corrected, you then matriculated to what? Top of the
Class.
top. Exactly. Tell us about that. I really found that to be phenomenal that you started off that way and you kept rising. Adversity, and you and I talked about, adversity motivates you, Des, and it says it throughout your book.
Yeah, I think, you know, Molly, when I think about the childhood experience, and first of all, finding out that I was dyslexic was very uncomfortable because my mind races today, and it's like, I don't think you overcome dyslexia. You actually always process it. When I get tired, it comes back. You know, so I have to, you have to keep mentally sharp, get your rest in, look after yourself. You don't recover, you just have to deal with it and fight through it, from my humble opinion. So when I found out I had and the embarrassment of telling my teacher that, he was great. He took me into little private school lessons, 30 minutes to an hour each day after class. But it wasn't done fast enough or soon enough to stop it by being put into. Unfortunately, what kids can be very cruel. It was the guns class. It was where all the reprobates went, all the people who were in trouble, all the people fighting, all the people who had an unsettled home life. And I was right there where I should be. But what I found is that I was small. And really funny. I was a teacher called Miss Reynolds, beautiful woman, my history teacher, also my geography teacher, and I had a major crush on Molly. And that crush got me to focus and start to apply myself, so I would get, if you like, attaboys or thank yous, congratulations from that woman. That was the inspiration that got me going into my education system.
But okay, how in the world could a 9-year-old, between 9, I think, and 14 years old, when I was reading the book, how could, I know adversity definitely was the stimulated you to do this. You started a business. First you were working with, I'm trying to think, Malcolm, and then you went off and started a business on the road. Could you tell us, just little bits and pieces of that? Because I found that to be phenomenal for all of us entrepreneurs and solopreneurs here. We'd love to hear how a young boy started a business.
Yeah, I think, Molly, certain things happen in life where, you think that they're not important, but when you look back, you can connect all the dots that happened in your life. And as I think about, my launch into business, I'm what stimulated me and gave me the vision. I'm maybe 11 years old or 12 years old, and we have a news show in the UK, in the North, called Calendar. It's like the 5 o'clock news. And in this series, what happened is an entrepreneur was flying with his family and business Associates to Alton Tower. Think about Walt Disney, but on a smaller version. And on the way to Alton Towers, the busy property, his helicopter crashes and he dies. And it's an awful moment. And what I took out of that moment was, of course, it was sad. But I thought, you know what? I want my own business. I want my own helicopter. I'm living in daily hell. I had to have a why. I would also say to people, be scared to have somebody help with your emotions and help process things. For the longest time, I thought that was also what tough guys did do. When I got with my strength, it helped me process, the things that happen to you in life and an outlet. And so with that, having a why to live, to Franklin's Search for Meaning, is a wonderful book that I read every Thanksgiving. This, what I think about, I think I had an awful time in my childhood. My worst day, my worst day is somebody else's best day. That grounds you, that encapsulates and keeps you thinking about and put things into context. So anyway, going back to the business. Watch the series for I Want to Be in Business. I then, necessity. I was homeless. I'd left home at 15. I was living in a home. This is before it was fashionable. There was nobody else home in my little community. I was the homeless guy. I was the guy living under a bush. So really, do what you have to do, whatever it takes. And I thought, I'm either going to get into trouble, I'm going to find, in prison, I'll do bad things, or I'm going to have to get a job and put down and get work. And that's what I chose to do. And that's kind of got me into first of all, being a server, actually cleaning in the back of the chip shop with a toothbrush, tiles, for mums, peeling 50-pound bags of potatoes, 5 of them every night, and it was a night, not a peeler today. I thought I was never going to use carpal tunnel was like easy, and I don't mean to say that somebody who's got carpal tunnel. I know it's severe, but it was doing the work that led me to then get to be the manager of the chip shop. Then when Malcolm opened the first video in north of England, I became the manager. Then a convenience store, and then other butchers. So I'm like 18 years old, running 4 businesses. And unbelievable experiences, lots of failures along the way, but made who I am today. There's not a job that I won't do. There's not a trip I won't take, a call I won't make, a assignment I won't take to win, be successful. And I think that's kind of what encapsulates my personal ethos.
Well, see, and you just proved it. Adversity. You see that? Well, if somebody told you this years ago, before you actually encountered all of what you went through, Des said adversity could actually be the promoter. Because all of the people that you've seen who are success today talk about adversity. Adversity, it needs to be part of the equation.
Yeah, I think, for me, I think adversity, as I said, visits us all. It's inevitable that we're all going to go through some level of adversity. Some is just far greater than others. Everybody's story, everybody's adversity, which we need to recognize kinder in this world, is everybody's going through their own troubles. And everybody's personal troubles are important to them. So have some humility, have some kindness, have some compassion to help be the hand that lifts others up, not pushes them down in their moment of adversity. We can all choose to look at that idiot for doing that. But we don't know what was on their mind, their thoughts, demons they were carrying at that moment. So have a bit of compassion. So as I think about adversity, and I like to say, oh, get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. Get knocked down 8 times, get up 9. Brush yourself down, tough yourself up, and keep moving forward because you are going to be stronger. And nobody can defeat you unless you decide to let them. So that's how I kind of.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay, you know what? Good. I have. Well, I've got something for you today, and I've got some witnesses here right now that you do so well with adversity and challenge. So today I want to challenge you. Tell us about something. I know you got 2 books you're writing. I want there to be something that you haven't yet maybe got completely fixed yet, but you're working yet. And you said, Marlene, it probably will take me maybe, I don't know, a month or 2 or whatever length of time it takes. And what we'll do is come back and we'll let everybody know what the outcome is of it. Got anything that you could actually, something that's challenging you today?
Well, you know, I'm writing the 2 books and I've finished the first one and I'm working on my second one. So that's not new for you. And don't take this as a personal threat, Marlene, but I'm going to start my own podcast. Onwards. That's my frame for life. Always moving forward. I'm not going to put you out of work, but you got to step up your game. You're here, I'm here. You got to move it up. So I want to bring an intimate discussion with myself and business leaders and sports people and maybe politicians and other, people we can all learn from, and really ask them their life story and how we can all learn from that. A little bit like you're doing on the Office idea. That's what I'll be launching in the coming months.
Wonderful, and you'll be coming back then to let me know the outcome. How maybe say what you want to. The first one goes, or one, or at least.
Marlene, I'm not hearing you. Something's happened to the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Very briefly, very faint.
Very faint. I don't know what's going with the volume here, but can you hear me now?
It's very faint. You he said echo.
That actually location. Okay. I just want you to come back and let me know the outcome of at least maybe 1 or 3 of your podcasts, and I will be coming back to let everyone know. We'll come back and let them know the outcome, how everything had occurred, and how. And listen, I want to stop right here and could you take the next couple of minutes and let our guests know a very good, what do you think is a very good thing they could do to help to overcome adversity? How to use adversity to their favor? Can you tell us that over the next couple of minutes?
Yeah, well, I think it's I think first and foremost, it's a mindset. As I said, adversity is all. It's inevitable. Defeat is optional. So you have to choose. You have to choose your mindset. So first and foremost, on anything that happens to you, it's I'm not going to be defeated. The second thing about adversity is oftentimes in my life, I blamed myself. Why am I getting beaten by an evil stepmother? Why did I get sexually abused? Why have I got, done this or that? It was always about, was I at fault? And when you are at fault, you have to say, we're human. I like to bring everything to music, Marlene. So I think about, we all make mistakes. Cut yourself some slack. And like the great band Human League in the 80s, we are only human. Think about that. We are only human, and we're going to need to forgive ourselves. That's one of the first things is mindset, forgive yourself. And then it's about a process, and certain things that you go through just take longer to process into context. But you don't overcome adversity if you are doing the wrong things. If you're drinking too heavily, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating well, if you are your own worst enemy, the enemy is living between your ears, and you're allowing you to be your worst critic, you're pounding away at yourself. You know, like a really passionate prosecutor in a film that really got drilling you. Primal Fear, I watched that last night with my wife. If you haven't seen it, with Ed Norton and Richard Gere, the lady prosecutors just drilling. That's what you ought to yourself. Stop that. You don't need any more critics. You need some self-love. You need to, you need to think about another thing is you have to shake it off, like Taylor Swift. Shake off that negativity, shake off the things that are dragging you around. I say it often. If you walk around allowing yourself to carry every mistake that you've ever made, it's debilitating, it's backbreaking, and it's so unnecessary. You gotta release that. You've got to let that through your system. That I'm going to make mistakes. And by the way, the person who made that mistake no longer exists if you've taken the learnings and applied them to be a better you. So it's about onwards. It's about moving forward, not staying stuck, living in misery, self-wallowing pity. It's reframe it and move on.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I want to just thank you today, Des. Thank you so very much for being a guest today. We truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you. And I wish you the very best.
Thank you. And we look forward to getting your manuscript, Maureen. We're going to hold you accountable. So in September, I'd love to see you.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Des. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Maureen. You have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.